everyone, my name is Rebecca and today I am talking about Again But Better by Christine Riccio. If you don't know, Christine is actually a booktuber here on YouTube. She does lots of skits, book reviews, challenges, anything bookish related she talks about on her channel, and I was really excited that she was coming out with a book. I know a lot of people have a lot of hate about YouTubers making books, but I think you have to kind of judge it as the book and not as the YouTuber. And Christine's videos were actually the first booktuber videos I watched. I was reading the Matched trilogy at the time, and I think the third one had just come out because I was looking up summaries or reviews of Crossed, the second book in the series, and I wanted to kind of remind myself of the plot and what had happened before diving into the third book, but I didn't want to reread that entire book. And her video popped up, and then I just kind of fell into the rabbit hole of all of her videos. I will get into spoilers later on in the video, but this first half is going to be spoiler free. So anyways, Again But Better is about a girl named Shane who is 20 years old, and she has decided that she wants to study abroad to sort of start over her college experience. She was on the pre-med track and she was getting great grades but didn't have any friends, had no romance, and just was pretty miserable and wanted to try to turn that around on this sort of adventure. I really like the cover design, how it is split down the middle, and you can sort of see how it goes from a sketch to a more developed sort of image, drawing, whatever you want to call it, and I think that is really creative and really showcases a lot about the story and a lot of the growth you see in the book. And the cover has a watermelon on it, which you will see the relevance for once you read the book. I went and picked up this book the day it came out at my local bookstore, and this was the only one left on the shelf. I don't know if they had more and they had sold them already, or if they only got a handful and sold them already, or if they only put out one, but I was really glad they had it because at first I wasn't seeing it on the shelf and I thought I was going to have to ask somebody if it was there or not, and I was worried they wouldn't have it since it was the first day it had just been released. But they had it and I started it right away. I read this within a couple days. I read big chunks at a time, which I have not been doing lately, and was a lot of fun. I flew through the book. I really was rooting for the romance the entire time, and the ending was very satisfying to read. This is a book that I really wish had been around when I was first starting out in college. Now I have graduated and I'm on to grad school, but this would have been very helpful back then because it's all about finding yourself and deciding where you want to go in life and how, I guess, the choices you make a difference in the long run. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. There are parts that were a little bit frustrating at times, but overall a really nice and creative, fun story. So if you like contemporary, if you like romance, if you like pop culture and Christine's personality, you will probably like this book. So now I'm going to be getting into some of the more spoilery things. So if you don't want to be spoiled for this book and you want to read it yourself, I suggest clicking away now while I go into the spoiler stuff. Give you a second to do that. Okay, so now that everyone who hasn't read is gone, this book, the main character is very much so like Christine, and I do agree with a lot of the reviews that stated that it was difficult to separate the character from Christine herself. And I know that authors typically do put themselves into their books a lot, but I think there are ways to do that without it being exactly like you. Some things I'm not sure if they were meant just to be funny or if it was meant to just straight up be copying her life, such as the main character Shane's blog being called French Watermelon 19, very similar to Poland Bananas books, or Poland Bananas 20, which was Christine's original channel before she started the BookTube channel, and very similar thought process as to how she named the blog as Christine's real life process for naming it. I really feel that if I hadn't been watching Christine's video, I wouldn't have felt that. I could connect a lot to the main character. The main character has a lot of anxiety regarding social situations and is sort of awkward, I suppose you could say. And that is definitely something I can relate to. I am very introverted. I don't enjoy talking to new people. I only do it when I have to, and that's not always the best way to be. It's just the way I am. So I could relate to the character a lot. The character also loves Taylor Swift. There are a lot of references throughout this book to all sorts of pop culture, like Harry Potter, Taylor Swift, Lost. And a lot of people found those references to be distracting. I agree with that on some level. I think it's okay to have some references in your book, especially since it is a contemporary novel and it is meant to be set in the same world as us. So it would make sense for the character to know songs like Avril Lavigne or Taylor Swift and have that sort of element. However, I do feel like it did get a bit distracting. It was a little bit too much. And there were so many Harry Potter references, and that kind of bothered me a lot. I'm not the hugest fan of Harry Potter. I've read all the books, I've seen all the movies, I've been to the park, but I don't obsess over it the way a lot of people do. So it was a little bit much when it was like a moment in the book where she would just be like, oh, it's like this from Harry Potter, or it's like this from this other thing. So that was a little frustrating for me. It's also a reason why Ready Player One was kind of annoying for me to read, and I haven't finished that book yet, even though I started it a year ago, is because it's so many references to so many different things. Something that I really enjoyed that she did was with the time travel aspect of the book. I like how she made both characters, both Shane and Pilot, go back in time, and how they both had to decide to like restart and what to change and if they wanted to change. It was refreshing to see a little bit of a different take or a little bit of a twist on a classic sort of Groundhog Day situation, if you will. I was rooting for these characters throughout the entire book. I just wanted them to be together in the end, and I got that overall. This book made me laugh. There were a few parts that even made me cry just because they were so touching or it was so relatable. The biggest thing that bothered me are the names of the characters. So I can get over like Shane being used as a girl's name even though it's a boy's name. Okay, cool. Like to be different. I'm all for it. But Pilot is not a name. It's like something a celebrity would name their kid. It's a little bit like Michael Jackson's son being named Blanket, in my opinion. I don't like the name Pilot. It makes me not like the book as much. I also don't like how her roommate, Babe, we go through the majority of the book thinking that her name is Babe, and then it's like, oh no, it was actually Barbara, like this normal name this whole time. And like nobody bothered to get to know me well enough to learn what my actual name is, and I changed it on Facebook because I thought it would be a cool nickname. I didn't like that. And then Atticus, like, that's okay. It's old-fashioned. Not hating on the name itself, it's just when you have so many unique names in one group setting, especially in a contemporary, because this is meant to be like what you would see in real life, and I don't know a single person named Atticus or Pilot in real life. Sarah bothered me the most because it's like, oh, let's just spell it not the typical way of spelling Sarah. Let's make it S-A-H-R-A instead of like S-A-R-A-H or S-A-R-A. Let's make it Sarah instead of Sarah. That bothered me, I think, the most out of all the names. And it does kind of bother you because the characters' names show up so often throughout the book that it's just like constant reminder that it's an annoying name. I really loved the travel and adventure aspect. I liked the new experiences. I liked seeing Shane develop from a 20-year-old and her personality then to the 26-year-old perspective in the 2017 go back in time to 2011 sort of section, part 2. I really liked the romance, I liked the comedy aspect, and I definitely could have learned a thing or two from this book had it been around 6 years ago myself, because this is definitely the type of book that I was looking for throughout college. The majority of books are either high school aged people or they are older adults. And there's not a lot for a college-aged audience that's really relatable. I was hoping that Fangirl would be like this more so, and really relatable, but Fangirl frustrated me a lot, so that was very disappointing. And I did go into this book pretty skeptical. There were a lot of negative things going up on Goodreads and from other booktubers. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. It is definitely one of my new favorites, and I am excited to see what she does for her second book. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I will have another video up soon, so I will see you then. Bye!